I'm late. Let's talk about the ammo funnel nerf. Credibility! I've got 470 hours in the game. I've played since early Payday 2, and I'm a Starbreeze partner. You know the drill. I've got a lot to say about the recent controversy around ammo funnel, mostly because I think the nerf was actually pretty necessary, but there's a lot of things to talk about surrounding it. I believe Starbreeze reacted really poorly to the reception they received. I also believe many of the partners released videos that were misguided in their subject matter, and that really fueled a lot of the discourse around this nerf. So let's get into it. Point number 1. I think the nerfs were necessary, and this is where I think we should go from here. I think it was necessary because the developers told us it was necessary. I think their feelings should be taken into account when looking at stuff like this, and if they don't feel like they can make a fun game, we're not going to get a fun game anyway. They explained to us pretty clearly in the dev blog why they thought it needed to happen, and I don't think enough people took that into account. Also alongside that, I think this was a good nerf, personally. I think ammo funnel kind of removes a core mechanic of the game. Reloading is basically non-existent as a normal mechanic in the game because of ammo funnel. It really limits the design space around shooting and reloading, and it makes the players unstoppable killing machines. Also alongside that, that makes magazine size basically redundant. I don't want to focus too heavily on this because it's more of an opinion piece, and I don't want this to be mostly an opinion piece. I'm just trying to call some things how I see them, and that's why I think this was actually a decent nerf. I want to give Starbreeze some credit where it's due. I don't always see eye to eye with them. When I finally see them doing something decent, I want to call it out. I know that was a pretty short point, but nobody else really hit it, so I just want to leave it right there. More importantly, I think Starbreeze reacted to the backlash really poorly. I really don't think there was enough time for everybody to process what was talked about in the blog. We needed more than just 2 days to figure out if the presented alternatives were good enough for us, or if the nerf was even justified in the first place. Now you're probably wondering, why did that happen? You probably already know the answer, you're not wondering that. The nerf was reverted so quickly because of extreme pressure from the community. The community pushed back extremely hard for a reversion before even considering everything presented, but more importantly, they didn't consider why everything was presented. And that was, as I mentioned earlier, dev space was cannibalized by the overpowered nature of the skills. Aside from taking enough time to think about things, partner videos were also posted at the same time as the blog, and so I feel like many people found out about the blog from partner videos. Therefore, much of the community was pulling their opinion from partner videos, and a lot of the partner videos didn't focus on why the nerf was needed. Many of them instead focused on a completely different issue, which I'll mention a little bit later. 4,000 people play the game a week, and nearly 100,000 people tuned in to have everything explained to them by a partner before being able to educate themselves properly. I don't really blame the community or the partners for this, and I want to talk about that a little bit later in the video, so try not to jump to any conclusions yet, please. I will say this resulted in a lot of the community talking about this update is happening at the wrong time. They focused a lot on that point instead of focusing on the intention of the update, which was told to us by the dev team in the blog. Another bit I'd like to hit here is how I'd like to fix things going forward. I think the team should, instead of proposing an ammo funnel nerf, propose a replenish nerf, and then give us a lot of time to think about it. This still hits the devs' issue of feeling cornered in their design space because they're able to propose a nerf to an incredibly strong skill. It allows them to take feedback, such as much of the community talking about the issue with the Mosconi being bad with the ammo funnel nerf, so they can come up with a better plan more tailored to what the community wants. Nerfing replenish hurts the ammo funnel combo directly, but it still leaves space for skilled players to fire infinitely if they play well and take into account some sort of nerf that they would add. This also fixes a core issue that I have, and a replenish nerf puts reloading back on the menu. It also encourages people to leave cover and make mistakes, which opens up more design space. The devs get what they want, we get what we want, and there's more design space, so we can get some more fun stuff in the future. I think everybody would win. Notice how this turns the update pipeline into a dialogue instead of them telling us what they're doing and then doing it anyway? Weird, huh? Remember how I said it's not the partner's fault? It might be Starbreeze's fault. Speaking of the partners, they reacted in a way that I don't really like. For one thing, partners didn't really focus on the intention of the nerf. They instead focused on something that I believe they can't properly predict. Nearly every partner gave feedback prior to this update saying, don't do it, the community's not going to react very well. And they also said things like, this will kill the game with how poorly it's received. Starbreeze then released the update anyway, or at least the blog post for the update. Once the blog post released, nearly every partner released a video saying, Starbreeze shouldn't have done this, all of this stuff is anti-fun, and this update is timed very poorly. And I believe this kind of led to people feeling like this is how they were supposed to react. The conversation rarely, if ever, addressed the cannibalized design space, and they instead focused on the timing of the update and the lack of fun in the update. And mind you, I don't believe the partners played the nerfed version of the game at this point. Correct me if I'm wrong, any partners in the comments. I'm a partner, but I don't get access to the branches ahead of time because I don't want to. So it's up to them if they want to tell you the case there, but I don't believe they had access. This makes it a rough case. They're trying to compare something that they already know is fun to something that they think might not be fun, but could still be fun. They don't know. That's why I think that's kind of a null point. The point about this being poorly timed does not have a lot of substance to me. We're working with a really volatile community right now. I think nothing is certain, so any of the partners claiming to think that this is bad timing are making a judgment call, but I don't think they have a lot to back it up. I don't think we have enough information here to really make a judgment call. We don't have numbers, we don't have business call insights, we don't really know what the shareholders are thinking. I hate to say it, but for all we know right now, the game could already be dead. There's no way for us to know. I therefore think this isn't a very good conversation point, because I don't think we really have enough information to make a decision, which is also why I haven't personally addressed the whole timing of the update. I kind of took my hat out of that ring. Things really are so screwed and volatile in this community. I say go for it whenever. We can't pick a good time, so just pick any time, and that's what they did. I can't stress enough that nothing is set in stone with this community. We don't know what's going on. We're incredibly volatile. That's what this entire endeavor really showed me a lot. Another issue I had with the partner reactions was that they heavily pushed back on people that really didn't share their opinion. I would know. I was one of the ones being pushed back on. Have you ever taken on 6 men at the same time? I experienced the business end of 6 men for 2 full hours as soon as the blog post dropped. And let me tell you, it was rough. From slightly aggressive comments to completely closed-minded also comments. The partners never gave anything but their own opinion a chance. Quite a bit of it began to feel like an echo chamber. Many of them would shut down anyone who said anything they didn't like, as you can see here. This resulted in a lot of comments like these, such as, "No one asked for this," or "They're taking the fun out of the game," without any consideration towards the fact that the team felt like they were doing this because they wanted to make things more fun in the long run. However, they felt like they couldn't because of how overpowered this ammo funnel combination is. For that reason, I think the partners reacted very poorly. I've asked them to self-reflect a little bit. Whether or not they will is up to them. Here's why I think this entire situation was really bad. For one thing, I already mentioned it a little bit. Partners released their videos at the same time as the blog post. This led to many people watching partner videos instead of reading the blog post for themselves. I don't think it's the community's fault that the general consensus became what it was. So many people were more likely to find out about all this news from a video instead of reading the blog post on their own. And I do believe many of the partner videos were opinion pieces. I think it's a little rough to learn your news from an opinion piece, and it's definitely going to sway what your general opinion is of things. Here's a part I think a lot of you will find interesting. The partners got the news about this update early, and they said they didn't like it. I keep saying they because I'm not included in most of the partner talks. I'm in a non-spoiler chat, while a lot of them are in a spoiler chat. Anyway, when the blog came out anyway with none of their feedback taken into consideration, the partners prepared their videos accordingly. I think it's definitely on Starbreeze for not communicating how important this nerf was to the development team, and why these changes needed to happen. I believe if this was communicated to partners more, they may have changed their focus on their videos a little bit, or at least maybe considered the other side more. To me, it sounds like the partners weren't given enough information or context to be able to focus on what they thought was best for the game, and therefore they didn't see why this nerf could have been better for the future of the game. Another reason I think this is bad. Starbreeze needs to stop pretending that partners hold no control over the culture of the game, as well as the general discourse surrounding it. I think it's very obvious when you consider the fact that more people were up in arms participating in the discourse than there were people playing the game, or even playing the game in the past month. Partner videos are obviously moving things in the direction of more discourse if communication with everyone is too limited. Starbreeze needs to take full advantage of the partners as a proxy to the community. Updates need to be more of a conversation, like I mentioned earlier. We can still get a good nerf if Starbreeze is willing to communicate with the community and the partners and use them as a proxy to see what everybody wants. Dialogue will help the devs get what they want and us get what we want. It's not an us versus them situation. It's an everybody versus making a good game situation. We need to work together. The final thing I want to talk about is the Twitter controversy. We're hitting it fast though because I don't want to talk about it too much. Forgive me if I sound like I'm reading a script because I'm reading a script. A developer's significant other attacking another Starbreeze partner on Twitter was not okay. Developers attacking community members on Twitter is not okay. Community members attacking developers or Starbreeze partners on Twitter is also not okay. I think targeted harassment of any kind is not okay, and many community members should really feel ashamed. Developers also participating in harassment towards the community should also feel very ashamed though. I'm going to throw a little opinion piece in here. It's my opinion that your significant other is a direct reflection of you, and them attacking members of a community you represent falls back on being your responsibility. This is a discussion I had personally with my wife while all of this was going on. She agrees with me. You're not immune to consequences because your significant other was the one doing any of the attacking. I think it's your responsibility to be proactive in situations like this, and ensure that the people you are privately affiliated with don't speak on your behalf. I think the developer that had their partner speaking on Twitter is just as much at fault as the partner. That's just my opinion, so it's okay if you disagree with me on it, but I figured it was good to get that out there. What happened to one of the partners has been seen by the community in Starbreeze. That's obviously not good. There has since been an apology given out. I think it was a fine apology. Obviously, it doesn't change that it happened, but it was a fine apology. It set someone at fault, and they gave a clear apology. As soon as everything happened, privately many of the partners went to the victim's defense. I can assure you, I supported them as soon as everything went down. I'm on the side of the partner that was attacked. I do this first and foremost because I care a lot about the partner as an equal and as a friend, but also to set a precedent that the developers can't strong-arm us out of making videos and stuff. The content we release will always be our content. They can't harass us out of that. So I think it was important for us to set this precedent that it's not okay to harass partners, or any community member for that matter. We're free to do whatever we want as long as we show respect. To circle back a bit on that, I think much of this could have been prevented if Starbreeze treated the partners differently. More communication and telling them why things are happening would make the conversation go a lot smoother. It needs to be a dialogue between us and them. It doesn't need to be them versus us. Hopefully that made sense. Alright, let's wrap this up. In conclusion, I think the nerf was necessary. Warder! In conclusion, I think this nerf was necessary, and I think it should be revisited from a different angle. I do think Starbreeze reacted way too quickly to the backlash from the community, and I believe the community was fueled by partners releasing videos, swaying the conversation away from the actual topic, and the reason it was even being brought up in the first place. I think this was a pretty bad situation on all fronts, because I think the partners created a misguided, self-fulfilling prophecy of a community hurricane. If Starbreeze changed the way that they conversed with partners, things may have been different. Like it or not, Starbreeze, the partners do have a lot of power over the community and thus the game, so if Starbreeze doesn't start using them more effectively as a dialogue option, things are going to continue to trend downwards. The only way things are savable is if this turns into a dialogue instead of a you versus us situation. It's not because we made it that way. I think if Starbreeze had more back and forth dialogue with us, things would get better. I'm not calling for anybody to lose their job or anything like that. I'm just calling for more dialogue and communication between Starbreeze and the community. It's the only way things are going to move forward. That's pretty much all I got. I just want to say this video was written, I say pretty equally, but Nanner disagrees. This video was co-written with my friend Nanner. He occasionally releases his own content, so if you really like the writing behind this video, go check out his channel. It's the top link in the description. His Payday 3 video is a pretty solid hour-plus watch, so I would go check that out. Me personally, I stream on Twitch 3 times a week, sometimes a little more than that. Go ahead and go check me out over there, probably the second link in the description. That's where I mainly make most of my content. If you liked the video, please consider leaving a like, subscribe, and show your friends. I will use the ad revenue to purchase more home-cooked meals for my partner to make me. Because remember, when my partner makes me a meal, it's just like when your mom does it. Except my partner actually loves me.